next time you're just kind of wandering by the library, the park branch, would you mind stopping in? I have a
That's how I test
question.
microphones to see if they're working.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave these little half sheets over here. If you didn't get one, welcome to get one next to the cookies. That's right. All right, welcome everyone. If you can't hear me, yell for me, or at least pull up your hand. I am going to do what I did last time. If you were here for the first session, I'm going to turn this little thing on. It's on, and it records us. And last time at the listening session, it was experimental at the first one. How many of you went to the first listening session? Most of you. Okay. Yes, Joe.
I'd like to ask if anyone's going north up to 5th Street when you leave the end, as I go right from here to 5th and Mission.
North to 5th Street. If
I'll
that's-
give you a ride.
All right.
Okay.
I'll pay for your gas. Thank you. Last time was the first time I'd ever used that little device thing, and it was amazing. It literally told me, it knows your voice, and it says there were 37 different people that spoke during your presentation. And it told me how great I sounded, so I knew it was a really good device. No, I'm kidding. But tonight we're going to recap quickly session 1. We're going to jump into session 2, and I'm going to tell you what happened in between to make it worth your time. I promise to appreciate your time, and I hope you had a chance to get some food. We have pizzas. One of the VIPs, Diana, or Deanna, one of the two, I think Diana made some sugar bombs over there. And then, of course, I made my cookies because it's the only thing I'm really good at. So on December 6th, welcome. You guys grab a little half sheet next to the cookies if you can. On December 6th, we had 31 speakers, 58 people attended, not including the officers, and a lot of them were you. Anybody new that didn't show up to the first one? Okay, I promise I'll fill you in on quickly on what we talked about, what we spoke about, and we'll go from there. Today, Marissa Bermudez is in the back. She's our assistant city administrator. Thank you for coming. Because you didn't want to go home after work, I know, so thank you. So, I listened to everything, and then I used machines that are smarter than me. And what do you think, besides the word car, what do you think the number one word was that popped up that we talked most about? What do you think?
Noise.
Noise? Noise. Referring to me or are we? Okay. Noise. It did pop up. Noise did pop up. Traffic.
Frustration.
Frustration. I was hoping some positive things. Carmel. Yeah, Carmel popped up for sure. Traffic popped up. You ready? What was that? She said classic. You ready? Classic. Classic was like 143 times you mentioned the word classic, which I think is pretty powerful, right? So my challenge tonight is for us to decide and maybe define what classic is, because what you think is classic is different to my 19-year-old weird son.
Weird.
Right? He is weird. And I love him if you're watching, son. So classic, by definition, let's put it in the definition of Car Week, are vehicles that are admired, respected, and it creates an experience for you in a way that maybe reflects care, design, and shared appreciation. Now put that optic in front of every car you can think of that shows up in Car Week. Not my Honda or my Mazda that I drove here, but think of the cars that show up. It kind of fits, right? It fits that special Bugatti, that McLaren. It fits the priceless Ferrari or the old coupe. But think of who it matters most to. And the answer is, it's just different people. And that's what we're experiencing in our town, and that can be a wonderful thing. Here's my thought, like if I croak, you can quote me and put this on my tombstone. But I want us to think about Classic not as a year on a license plate, but as a standard for how cars show up in our community. And I think that's, it makes me kind of energized to come up with a way to make that work better for us. All right. So these are the 6 things that we talked about during week 1, or listening session 1. I feel like you educated me and my team, who have been here longer than me, most of them, on what Car Week has morphed into, from classic, historic, and elegant cars to a modern, loud, and many of you said 2-seater race car. The crowds that are attracted are different from when you were younger, or when other people were younger and who showed up for the first session. And now we have social media influencers, and many of you felt like that diminished the elegance of Car Week, and elegance was the 3rd most used word that you brought up at the listening session number 1. With the loss of Cars on the Avenue, does that sound right? The name of that? With the loss of that, there was a big shift in the car culture, not just in our town, but in all of the peninsula. And I will tell you that I don't see that, and Leslie, you can throw something at me if I'm wrong, I don't see that coming back this year. That's a bigger thing than Todd Traer, okay? I'm not the one that plans the events, but I don't see that happening right now. But at least we know what a big value for the community is, and it was that Cars on the Avenue. Most of my officers said that those cars scared them because they would go down Ocean, and sometimes their brakes wouldn't work too well, and they were helping hold back some bumpers to keep the cars from going the wrong direction, which I thought was funny. All right. Uh-oh. I paid good money for this laptop to not do this type of stuff, so let's see if I can do that without looking. There we go. Secondly, was a community impact. You told me that noise was on your mind, and I'm abbreviating that big time, but I get it. Some residents told me that they left town for that week for the crowds, which I'd heard of before, and that the economic impact was mixed. Is there anybody here from a business? But your business, kind of, yeah, you're organizing, right? Anybody else? You work in a business, I know that, yeah. And I feel like I have done outreach, and I'll talk to you a little bit with the business community, but they haven't been able to come here, and it's not because they don't care, it's just because of whatever is happening in their world. But I went out myself and met them where they are, which is something I figured out how to do a little while ago. But the economic impact was mixed. I told you that I went to a hotel meeting, and they were all happy with Car Week, with the amount that they're sold out. They're usually doing a minimum of 3 or 4 days stints, and everybody was buying them up. What they weren't happy was this year and last year were the complaints of the noise, and that's part of what we're going to work on. The daytime events, number 3. There was sentiment that there were too many daytime events, and that is a bigger issue than Todd Traer again. And that is something that I will represent to the Community Activities Commission. But I felt like the events during the day were civil, and whether the content was what you were looking for or not, that's outside of my purview, but the right people are hearing you. Leslie is here, city administrator is here. They're the ones who listened to it and helped make the decision on what the events are gonna look like. You know, there was a conversation we had about the catwalk. For those of you who saw it, I saw it, I was there. Just that, whether that's appropriate to have a fashion show in the middle of Car Week, and I don't know. My big thing, like as a cop, all I think of is, are people hurting each other, right? Or is there a chance people can hurt each other? The catwalk was pretty safe. That was the fashion show. And then Concourse for a Cause. The takeaway from that, and I'm sure you'll appreciate, that's yours, right? People praised that, it was positive, they felt like it was family oriented, and it was a well-organized event. I think That was kind of a benchmark for what a positive event could look like in our town. All right, to jump into number 4, the nighttime disruptions. I don't think that really happened. I think people were, I'm just kidding. That was, that's a big part of why I'm here. And the 3 things that stuck out to me is that you mentioned, and it was really 4 different people from different generations in the group, mentioned a potential sanctioned nighttime event from 6 to 10 p.m. And I promise you I'll talk more about that because we've worked through some of that. And the second was an alternative route for the cruise that comes into town, which was my knee-jerk reaction, which I'm still going to stick with if we don't do the event at night. And then the third option is a similar route that happened the last couple years with my team, which is how they serpentine through the town. They did a phenomenal job, and I'm knocking on wood that nobody got hurt, right? And we were able to maintain control over the thousands of people that were in town. I just didn't like how noisy it was, and I didn't like how disruptive people were being when that special car came down that was bedazzled in diamonds, right? It just wasn't safe. So those are the 3 things that kind of stuck out to me on, with the caveat of speeding down San Carlos, which is in here somewhere, and the 6 places you guys want me to put speed humps in, which we'll talk about. And then number 5, enforcement of traffic as a traffic management strategy. I told you that I would look into, and I have been, strategies to do noise enforcement. There are 2 things that are happening in our department. One is the machine I talked to you about. It's pretty cheap. It's like $700. And then the training that goes for the officers. And secondly, there's a whole training that the Peninsula has been working on, which involves the officers being trained up on what is legal and illegal on cars, right? But I will tell you that, and I'm going to use McLaren, and you know stuff better than me, because you're kind of cool and I'm not, all right? But the, like a McLaren, for example, can show up in Carmel and they have a switch, maybe. And that switch is like loud or not loud. And when they show up and drive by the cops, it's not loud. And then when they go and make their U-turn on Monteverde and they're heading eastbound on Ocean, and there's 100 people saying, do it, do it, do it. And that 18-year-old dude's in there in his rented McLaren, let's say, or whatever car. He flips that switch and he hits it. He hits the gas, and it is loud. Does that sound like I'm in the right ballpark? Maybe not McLaren's? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's okay. Those are like I kind of fell in love with those cars, so I'll use them a lot as examples just because I thought they were beautiful.
My
But
brother
they're, does he?
Yeah.
My brother doesn't. So, sorry, Kevin, if you're watching. But I learned a lot about peer pressure. Right? It literally, they aren't their friends, but it's peer pressure. It's being videotaped. It's on YouTube. It's more. When we bring the guy over, we pull him over to give him a ticket. We're like, "Why are you doing that?" They're like, "I couldn't not do it. Like I literally had to do it." And I'm like, "I get it, right? I get it." So that's where enforcement comes in, and it is going to be part of the strategy for this year, for 2026. Suggestions for our future planning. We talked about consolidating events during the day. I haven't gone deeper into that conversation. It's not that I don't care about the day events. The day events went, I think, great. That's an issue that goes through the Community Activities Commission. And Leslie, are you on that, or are you just helping facilitate that?
Yes,
Yeah,
she's on it.
I feel like she does everything with that stuff.
Yeah.
And Ashley used to, she's in the back with visiting. Thank you for coming, by the way, because she yells at me when I say things that are goofy, which is good. And then the other suggestion from you was to bring back the classics and to formalize a new event at night, potentially. And I don't know. I gotta tell you, I don't know. Because I come up to different people in town and usually pet their dog. And then after I'm done doing that, we talk about Car Week, and I say, what do you think about having an event at night? An organized event. And it is 50-50. I don't know what it takes to tip the scales yet, but I know that somebody has to represent what you're thinking and saying about that to the Community Activities Commission and then to the council. And those are all open things. And I do ask, and at the very end, I'm gonna ask you again if you're able to stay. Some of you I know have to leave, and it's okay. As long as you get free pizza, you're good. But I do ask that you attend or at least watch it online and give your input about how you feel about what should happen at night, because I know it sounds a little cliche, but you literally are the people, and this is your town. And people want to know, they're asking, and that's why I'm doing this, right? Because I didn't feel great about the way the city was the way it worked at night. I didn't feel great about it, and I was there, and I was tired. So it's been 53 days since we met for the first group that came. The response I got from some of you was so positive and humbling that I feel like it was worth it. The first session was worth it. So thank you for the emails and calls that I got. People made fun of me a lot, and that's okay. 8 of you visited my office, and some of you were couples. 7 of you didn't come to the first meeting. So you missed the first meeting, but they came and met me in person. And then a couple of you came in just to kind of go over what we talked about, which I appreciate. I went and met Katie Ania. If you know her, she's the president of the Chamber of Commerce. And I just got more of a flavor of what the businesses feel. And I'm grateful for her. And she invited me to a round table of some of the businesses, and we got to talk about some of these ideas. For example, I brought up, what do you think about doing a night event in Carmel? People pay or whatever they're gonna do. We bring in the fancy cars, it's all controlled. The people are downtown, it's controlled when they leave, when they come, when they go, and everyone just stared at me. And that's okay. The answer is nobody knows for sure if it's gonna work, but it is one of the options that came up. And then the other option of having a shortened cruise where cars just come in and go out, and then we are able to maintain more of the downtown area and the sound. Same thing. They just listened, and people were taking notes, and I think it's going to develop to a bigger picture between now and August. I did meet with some of the council members, but I'm kind of waiting because I want to hear what happens here today, and there has been some other input and some proposals that are still coming through, but I want to kind of hear how that looks when we're all said and done. You, I guess, is still the visitors, but many of you see me on the street, and after we say hello, you give me your 2 cents on how you feel. And then Niall, I will, if you don't mind me talking about you, and Ashley, they did come and meet with me to talk to me about some options for a night event. And it wasn't like just 2 people showing up. They worked very hard, and they care about our community. And if he had terrible events during the day, I wouldn't have even opened my door. But he was there, and he did a great job. So thank you for taking a lot of time to do that. But I'm not saying yes yet. It's not my decision.
Just may I say one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to reframe the word event. It would not necessarily be an event, more of a traffic calming procedure. So there may be nice cars there because there's kind of already beautiful cars during Car Week, but this would not be an event in what you're thinking of your minds, where there's tables and there's people all getting together in the center of the streets. This would be more of a traffic calming with beautiful cars. So we can dive into that at a later point, but I just don't want everyone to think of a night event. It's like, that's not the picture that we have in our minds. So I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Yes.
I really want to make a joke and call it an event again, but I won't. Nobody came here to listen to me talk all night. So the first 7 questions we went through, I thought were pretty powerful, and they guided me to tonight. And I won't bug you again after tonight. After tonight, it'll be at the Community Activities Commissions. If you go to that, there's some fancy people that are on that commission. They're wonderful, and they care about what happens here. And then also at council. So tonight, I have my 5 questions for you, if you're ready. If not, get a cookie real quick. If Carmel were to clearly define what is not acceptable during Car Week, what you don't want to have happen this year, which is either noise levels, hours, behavior, locations, what would be non-negotiable to you? Like at what level would sound be not negotiable? What do you think, Joe? I do have an extra microphone if you want.
The first, I don't need it. The first thing I would ask for is serious sound mitigation on San Carlos Street, because it's such a long stretch, it's longer than a quarter mile between stop signs. So you can break a lot of sound barriers without breaking a stop sign law. And I think it's such a central street. We live on Torres and we can hear it from San Carlos. I would insist that you find a way to stop the racing up and down San Carlos Street.
Okay. And is there a part, if you didn't hear him, he said San Carlos is a raceway. It's wide. It's a very wide street, in front, especially in front of here, right? And when you think of San Carlos, because I can't put speed humps everywhere, have you thought about where, if we're talking speed humps, where it might fit best? And I'm not putting you on the spot. I just want you to, you know this place like the back of your hand, right? Is there a certain area that stands out to you? Because San Carlos goes pretty far down, right?
Right, it's wide open from Ocean to 9th,
Yes.
and it's open from 9th to 13th. And those stretches deserve at least one speed.
Okay. Between Ocean and 9th and 13th, somewhere there that would be safe. Donna?
Does a speed bump stop the noise? I mean, if they have the loud muffler, I just think it would be bumpy, loud noise. I don't know what a speed bump does to diminish noise.
I feel like you've been to like one of my community meetings over the last 30 years to ask that question. She asked, does a speed bump, is it gonna stop the noise?
No.
No.
You don't think so?
The faster the cars go, the noisier they are.
Right. So here's what the speed bumps do, Don. It's an excellent question. What I see happening during Car Week, because we had them on Ocean, is the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 cars. They can't go over those fast because it risks like the bumpers and things like that. Does that sound right? The carbon fiber bumpers that cost themselves tens or hundreds of thousands, I don't know, a lot. So what it does is it makes them slow down. It definitely worked on Ocean. And then there were officers there. So they would go over the bump and then they would see an officer and it would control their egress from town. So it does have a positive impact if we do it right. But it also, when we put in permanent speed bumps in other cities I've worked in, everybody comes together like this and they all vote. It has to be like an 80% vote. Everybody votes, put in that speed bump or speed hump, and then they vote, and then like a year later they tear it out because it's just, all the cars keep hitting it. But for Car Week, these are temporary ones.
No, but noise, it doesn't address the noise. Forget the speed bump for speed.
Yeah.
I know, but the noise, it
Yeah,
doesn't make a difference.
I think it does change things, but it's not perfect. Yes.
When you have a speed bump and you have one of these loud cars, it's gonna be loud when you go to take off again. So it's not gonna fix the noise barrier. It's gonna slow them down, but that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that would be not acceptable? So right now I hear noise, right? Like if we did that big word cloud, it would be cookies, my brother Kevin, and noise, right? Noise is what sticks out. Yes.
Well, no, it's noise and speed.
Speed.
Because if you go and turn around Monteverde and you speed up on Ocean from Monteverde all the way to Junipero, that's not safe either. So
Yeah.
it has to be reduced in noise and reduce the speed. I mean, like you were doing with your speed bump, I think they'll reduce the speed.
Yeah.
So, and I would say, I remember last meeting, we also talked about 8th from, all the way from like, if you talk all the way from Scenic, all the way up or even up to all the way to Junipero sometimes, or they go down an 8th, it's also another fast road. So there will be, we should basically identify Ocean, Junipero, San Carlos, and maybe 8th, I mean, as
Yeah.
key areas that need speed bumps, and you have to figure out how many you need.
What I would love to do, thank you for that. And did everybody kind of get the gist of it? So 8 can be tricky because it's straight and it goes everywhere you want to go in this town, right, up and down. If I had the keys to the kingdom, and I do have a lot of keys from Carmel, if I had the keys and could change the route, cars would never even make it to 8. They would do 7th up to Ocean and leave. And they'd get their second of fame in town, but we would be able to do that. I can't tell you for sure legally that that can happen, but I do hear you, and I do get it. And I saw it, because what happened when cars hit 8th Street, like the cops were everywhere, but they weren't everywhere. So when they hit 7th, a lot of people would leave, but a couple people would go to 8th, and then they would hit the gas, and then we would always catch them. You know, Fernando, we got you. Just kidding, we didn't. But it is kind of like if you know the area, it's a street that people who know the area use. So noise, speed, for sure. What else sticks out to you? Yes?
What isn't acceptable to me is the volume of traffic at night. And
Okay.
a lot of it, what it is I think people have made dinner reservations, they're trying to find a place to park, which guess what? They're not going to. There's
Yeah.
hardly any parking. So if that could be addressed, because I had to walk through town Friday night, and about 9:30, it was really terrifying.
Yeah.
Because they're driving recklessly, they're frustrated. I get it, but still, we need to address that, because it really is dangerous.
So any ideas on how? If you didn't hear her, although thank you. It was just the capacity for us to handle that many cars and people, that's the right way to say it, downtown.
And
there
it's
were-
not on Ocean Avenue. I mean, I was over on Fifth,
5th, yeah.
up by you, actually, up by the police station. That's where I had to park to get home.
They avoid the police station for some
Yeah,
reason.
but not really. You'd be surprised. It was like ants, they were everywhere.
I agree, and you were there at 9:30, which my cops know, like, that's a tipping point for us. Like from 9 to 11 o'clock, we are all within eyesight of each other, if we can, and we're all listening to the radio to make sure things are safe. And one night it wasn't. You know, we changed behavior. We had to move cars out to make it safe. But I hear what you're saying. It doesn't feel great, right? When those cars are going 2 miles an hour, they're loud, and there are 2,000 of them. That's a lot of cars.
It's so dark out. I mean, it's
It's
just,
dark.
the tree roots, everything. It's like perfect storm.
All right, so capacity, noise, and speed. I think we did hit on those on listening session number 1, but I'll talk to you as we move along about what we're thinking about for that also. All right, number 2, under what specific conditions would you support a sanctioned nighttime thing? I'm not gonna say event. Controls. I do like that, because that's what it is, right? A sanctioned nighttime, not event. It's an event to me, I'm sorry. And what would cause you to oppose it? And I think this is the critical question of the night. Like, would you tolerate that cultural change in Carmel? And you're not wrong, I just want to hear what you think about it. Yes, Donna?
Yes, I would. It depends again on the event. And we used to have a rally go on through here on Friday nights, and everybody was happy with that from PG. And yes, but the competition for nighttime events is you know, you have to get a lottery to get the ticket to Quail. It's now 4,000 and up.
At night?
Yes. And so what night would be a good question, would you even consider? And for any kind of event at all, and whether you wanna draw people who can't afford to go to the big time ones at the airport, etc., or do you want just anybody who wants to show off their car? So I would support an event if they come up with the parameters to how to make it work.
Okay. I almost want to give you the microphone, but because I asked those same questions to Ashley and to Niall. The differences are the social connections. And there's something about this town and certain people, they're very connected with a lot of these folks with the fancy cars. I am not connected with them. They will not add me as friends on Facebook. They probably aren't on Facebook. But I think Niall's a good example of somebody that has connections with the big groups of people that drive around. And will they come here? I am told the answer is, if it's organized, I'll throw in my own word, civilized, then they might if it was planned out right. But that's a big decision for our community. That's a big one. And to answer your question about which days, I will tell you, and if Tim's still here, I don't know, but Officer Ament, Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays are very real in town. So when I think of controls, I don't think of it as one day, because they might work on Wednesday or on Saturday or on Thursday or Saturday, but if you do it just one day, then the other 2 days, all of my officers are out doing what they did last year. And we're back here again, except you guys won't show up my listening session number 3. You're gonna just throw things at me. So the answer is multi-day, a multi-day set of controls. Right now we do it. We set up the bollards in different places. We control the traffic. It worked last year, but it was super noisy.
I meant the event, what day would you do an event control, not just the
Yeah.
normal coming in and out of town?
Yeah, the event that's not an event that
Right.
has been proposed to me so far by one person, maybe it rhymes with Nile, is it's all 3 days. It's all 3 days, because otherwise we aren't making a behavior change in our community. We aren't changing any patterns. We're just saying, hey, one day is really going to be fun here, right? And you have an option to come in and show your car off. We would do it all 3 days. And I will tell you that if that happened, if you guys all raised your hand and said make that happen, and the city administrator went for it, and all those things happen, that there's still going to be noise. But the difference is, people going into the event and people leaving the event will have controls in place. Like, they don't get the, I call it a pink slip, or the ticket to come in, unless they've signed that thing saying they're not going to rev their engine. And with more help that aren't police officers, it frees up my officers to just keep things calm and do more enforcement, which is what you asked me for, right? So it would give us more options. Am I hitting that in the right direction? Yeah?
So-
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We keep on going around the idea of the activities that Nile is proposing to bring to the, okay, so what is the intent? The intent is for us to think about a possibility of something, of an activity, however we're gonna call it, on a night of Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, for example, right?
Yes. And
is that the idea? The idea is to socialize, to see if there's appetite, or is now gonna give us a little more food for thought, for the appetite, so that the city can decide, is there appetite to even consider what he's even thinking? What is your
Yeah.
thought process?
Yeah, well, I think if you all raised your hand and said absolutely not, then I would represent the group to your commission. And I think that's powerful,
Mhm.
because that's who we work for, right?
Right.
And maybe some of you are thinking that, and that's okay, but I haven't heard it yet. You are thinking it?
No, the problem is we don't know what it is.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
So if it takes away parking, no, I don't think it's such a great idea. If it helps to control the crowds that are here, yes, that could be a good idea, but you're shooting blind. I mean,
Fair enough, fair enough.
If it closes ocean, okay, why? Is it walkable? Who knows? You know what I mean? It's like-
So, I promise you it's later in the thing, but I will touch on it because this is the time to do it. So, and they've revamped it since I met with them, because I know they met with the city administrator to run it by him. But the event would be, not police officers are downtown. And vehicles, when they show up with a paid ticket, and I don't get 10%, this is all outside of me, that whole thing. With a paid ticket, get escorted in their fancy cars, and they decide where the cars go. These guys know that stuff. And they line up, let's say the McLarens again. I'm hoping I get one if I keep saying McLaren. But they line up all the fancy cars at Ocean and Junipero going westbound. And they control each of the cars that come in by having the right people in place And the whole time they're like, don't rev your engine, Trayer's here, he's gonna write you a ticket. And you know, people don't necessarily care about the $500 or $1,000 citation when they have those type of cars, but they do care about being embarrassed. And I don't wanna embarrass them, but I also think there's a mutual respect we can have. And with this format, it gives an opportunity for that to happen. Right now, people show up, they drive their car in that serpentine, there's no eye contact with us, right? They're just showing off their car and they're revving their engine, and that's what's making a lot of noise for us. So an event that's controlled, and they really have worked hard on that, is another option for us to control how many cars. And when you look at it, I've walked Ocean 1,000 times lately with that mindset, what if you say yes? Are we going to be able to fit 100 cars, or we are, it'll fit, it'll be safe, and they have the right people. They obviously can run events in our city, even though this isn't an event, it's a something, I don't know what it's called. But there's a lot of discussion, and it's not finalized yet. But that's what the first proposal is. There's somebody else that's supposed to meet with me with another proposal, which is why I'm not going all out on what is being brought up today by me, by them. But out of fairness to them, that's kind of what they're thinking. And it wasn't just on the back of a napkin. It was like, I felt like I was on some executive board, and I acted like it didn't matter to me, but it really did. So, and I appreciate the work you did on it, both of you. Am I kind of touching base? Am I missing anything big?
Yeah, I think everyone's eager to hear what it is.
Okay. Well, maybe I can defer a little time to you. Would you mind?
Yeah.
Coming up?
Yeah, sure. I'll come with Ashley. We'll both kind of chat. Can you pull it up, or like, does he have any visual over?
You're the visual.
Okay, I'll help with the visual.
Yeah. And this is just the first idea that was presented to me. Oh, there you go. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. So, as you all know, I think most of you are familiar with me. I used to be the Library and Community Activities Director here for the City of Carmel-by-the-Sea, which means that I am well versed in Car Week here. Brought Niall in, tricked him into coming in and being a Car Week event organizer and bringing kind of that Tuesday classic car vibe back. And getting that rolling after we lost 2 of our core events during the pandemic. Also because I worked here for many years, well aware of how Car Week changed from before the pandemic. Probably starting about 2018, where we started getting these wild cars driving up and down Ocean Avenue, making it feel like Mardi Gras and kind of out of control. And so when I went to work for Niall this fall, we started having conversations with some ideas he has, because he always has ideas, about how to make things better for our community. And one of them was Car Week. So talking to the chief about proposing, and again, we haven't been calling it an event, because I don't see it like an event. What it is traffic calming, and all of you probably know, we played around with the idea of like, well, what if we just shut down Ocean Avenue downtown? Would that solve the problem? But the business owners wouldn't be happy, and the restaurants, and it would make harder for people to find parking and take away parking. So the plan that we pitched to the chief with lots of diagrams and thinking through, staffing, visibility, and how we're really supporting the police department would be the same footprint as many of our events, Unibrow down to Lincoln Street and the side streets, and basically allowing vehicles to come in and park. Whether you are a McLaren or you're here in town looking for a parking spot so that you can go to dinner. We also propose continuing to keep the shuttles running. So last year we brought back the shuttles going to Larson Field, and we did hit it pretty hard with the advertising for that, and they were well utilized during the day, but letting people know that well in advance that those are going to be up and running through 10, 11 o'clock at night, so people know that there's another option that's just down the street that they don't have to worry about in circle parking. So we've got cars in, they're parked, hopefully they're going to patronize our local businesses, restaurants. They're not zooming up and down the Serpentine, they're not going out in the neighborhoods for the fancy McLaren types of cars. There's some energy outlet where we can tell groups, this is a possibility for you. Please don't come zoom around the town. If you want the prestige of parking in Carmel, you can come, you can pay to park, you wanna stay 20 minutes, fine. But controlled entry and exit, because someone mentioned, I think it was Donna, mentioned the PG Auto Rally. I started with community activities when we were still doing that. And that kind of became a scary event, because those cars were really zooming up from Del Mar, up Ocean Avenue. And so this would not be that. This would be controlled entry and exit with police in that intersection, because that intersection at Unibrow, Ocean, and Mountain View can be really tricky to navigate. So making sure that that stays safe, that vehicles are going slow, that we have both space for people, regular people with regular cars to park their car, go out to dinner, and also let off some steam for some of the fancier cars, get their picture taken, and then move out of town. You don't need to be in the residential district, you don't need to be zooming up and down San Carlos. You did your thing in town, we'll see you later. Up Ocean Avenue and out to Highway 1. Is it a big approach to Car Week? I think so. We've never done anything like this or considered anything like this. Will it work? We won't know if we don't try. I think it's worth a try to see if it could potentially mitigate some of that zoom around energy. And again, we were here and prepared. We've been talking with the chief to speak about this tonight, but I also understand that Community Activities Commission meeting is the next step, and then on to City Council, so we can do a thorough presentation with the diagrams and PowerPoint and all of that. But if you have any questions for Nyla, this evening we're here and are happy to answer them and take any other supporting ideas you have with our proposal and factor those into our thinking.
Perfect. Miles?
Yeah, I think Ashley, I'm the creative and I get excited about things, so I want it to be calm and kind of, easily understandable. So the concept would be that cars would all enter coming northbound it would start on 7th going and then exit on 6th. The idea would be that we would park, we would put the exotics or any of the cars that kind of create some of this chaos, and we would have them in a controlled space on Unibrow and Ocean, and that's where we would have help from the chief that we have a police car stationed there. So we would get the exotics to those spaces parked, and then when they're done, they would exit going towards 1 with the police officer there to help us support so they're not zooming out of town. So it's just a controlled parking experience. We're kind of still discussing what the financial kind of format of this is. Originally, we're thinking of charging for the parking. One thing that does that supports the businesses is that people that are coming into the town are willing to spend money to stay here. It's not just a bunch of people that are coming to park to see the car and leave. They're actually going to be supporting our community and the businesses. So we've come up with a couple different pricing models. Nothing has stuck. I kind of think we should get some feedback prior to that. We would have approximately 8 people per block. So it would be very much like when you think of like a sporting event with everyone with their yellow coats and you kind of get them down and get them parked in a specific area. The goal with being a creative, I think it would be beautiful to have all the Ferraris together and all the exotics together and just have it an organized and staged parking situation, but that's not the intent of what we're trying to do. It is to get everybody in and out of the city as safely as possible, as well as continuing kind of some of the beautiful aspects of Car Week. So I don't know if that paints a little bit of a picture for you, but open to any questions.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course.
Last thought is just that, I don't know, I think this idea is worth kicking around. Again, I've been here for a long time. I've heard a lot of Car Week pitches and proposals, and Lord knows Leslie in the back there. We have talked at length about what would make things better and what could we do, and I talked to Chief and Chief Tomasi before him about shutting down Ocean Avenue. Is there any perfect solution that's gonna reduce our noise and make it feel like a normal evening in town? Probably not. Are there things that could potentially make it better that we might wanna try? Maybe, yes, worth considering and discussing. So again, I know, I can see some of your faces are like, I don't know about this. And I understand, because again, I'm sat across from Leslie, and she's listened to my ideas, and then she's come back with this, and I'm like, I don't know about that either. So I understand, and I think I look forward to discussing everything further with the community.
Maria?
I'll ask him a question. From the cars that you bring, let's say they start coming in, you start parking them, are they required to stay parked for like 3 hours? And is there a timeline that they will be parked in the spots until X amount of time, and then at that time you will exit them all at the same time? Or, because it would be really chaotic if people start parking and then, oh, I finished my meal, and then I'm gonna move my McLaren, and then I'm gonna move my Ferrari, and then everybody at the same time. So,
Yeah, so
what's
anybody
your thought?
who is entering or exiting will be accompanied with somebody who is managing that. So it won't be like, okay, we're gonna have everyone leaving at this time. The idea would be that we would start this parking situation at 6 p.m. and ending at 10 p.m. If you wanted to stay and you were still eating, or you went to another establishment, you could park your car there legally and leave it overnight. But the idea would be 6 to 10, and we would accompany all cars exiting and entering throughout that period of time.
I think that supercar number 8, when that guy gets in to leave and he's a big YouTuber and he gets ready to go, then supercar number 6, 5, 4, and 1 all want to leave at the same time. I think there will be groups of cars that leave because they always travel together. Am I right? So I saw that a lot happening. They would come in groups of 8 and they'd leave in groups of 8. So what I like about it is there's some controls and reminders the whole time, and enough people that aren't just the police saying you got to keep it down, and the cops don't have to be there the whole time in the mix of folks. They'll be around to be able to be visible and do enforcement if we have to. My gut tells me when the first few cars take off and they rev their engine, and they will, and I know who's going to call 911. I already know. When they call, when it happens, and the officers pull that car over, it draws a lot of people, right? And that happened last year. But when that happens, if this were to come through and it happens this year, it's sending a message like, we don't want to do this. We don't want to have to do enforcement, but you signed an agreement with us that you were going to, treat Carmel with respect. And so when you leave like that, there's going to be enforcement. I don't think what that does is it delays those 8 other people that want to leave with you. You're not part of the mix anymore. And it's embarrassing. We don't want to embarrass people. We don't want to have to do enforcement. We want it to be safe and just better controlled. So you're right, it isn't going to be perfect. It isn't going to be just one person. It will be sometimes, but I don't even know if people are going to eat. I don't know. We don't know. But they will be given, if this goes through, a platform to show off their car. And some of these cars are, like, people travel from all over the world to see them.
Just to add a little bit, is we have experience with doing something similar to this during the Quail on Friday night. So I own the business Hacienda Hay Feed, and so when the Quail kind of goes on there, I don't know if you've been around, but it shuts down that whole Mid-Valley area. Like, it just becomes chaos. And so what we've done is we have no business during that, so I was like, well, let's just start parking cars here. And so what we do is all the exotics park up front in front of Hacienda Hay and Feed, and we park the cars there. We strategically have people there before they come in. They sign a waiver, they pay their fee, and then in the back, I have a farm, and we have about 6 acres where I park cars there as well. So this isn't something that's like totally out of our wheelhouse. We've seen this. I think that it's benefited the community and the businesses around, and so I think that there's just a little added thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just, I'm thinking this through. It seems like a promising idea. I want to start with that, but a couple things that occur to me. First of all, if I have a supercar and I want to show off my supercar, static display is not the same as motion and sound. It just isn't. You know, nor is it for the spectators. So there's that. The other thing I wonder about is it sounds like, I mean, you just described your business establishment out in the valley, and that's private property. It sounds to me like we're almost charging admission for public property, and I'm not even sure we can do that. It's a public right of way. Can you charge admission and then exclude people who haven't paid for that admission? If I want to drive to go to a restaurant, can I not do it now? Between 6 and 10?
So we've talked about that, yes, we've talked about, as Niall said, we've been talking with the chief about what that would look like if you did charge. Would the money go back to the city? And the city, just like you would with event fees,
Sure.
right? Would it go to support the businesses and it becomes a Carmel Chamber of Commerce, whatever, you know, because we need to pay staff up front. I mean, that would be one thing. But then yes, where does the money go and what happens after that? Because I've had many a discussion about private events in the public right of way. And so far Carmel has not been in favor of that type of thing, to the exclusion of the public, whether it's free and open or ticketed. So that's definitely a consideration. And we know, we have talked in the past too about valet parking program as part of, you know, like the parking mitigation, because this is kind of a twofold issue here. It's Car Week, but also it's the parking situation in Carmel in general, which is at its very worst during Car Week. So it's kind of like, it's kind of an event, that's why we're talking about it this way. It's kind of an event, but it's kind of a potential parking solution to organize how cars are being parked. And to your point about the exotics, yeah, they are better moving. And maybe then Carmel, knowing that the downtown area, which is where you would want to be photographed, is closed down, you don't want to come here anymore. And then we have less noise and less of that traffic. Do I know that for sure? No. Could it be a potential? Yes, because we're not as much fun to drive around, right?
Make it less interesting.
Right, less interesting. So we have people that want to come, want to go to the restaurants, they can come, but.
I want to mention one other thing, and maybe some of you know about this. It seems to me that this sort of tied in with the beginning, or the popularization of the fuel run, that whole crowd.
We're asking for you to speak
Oh,
on the
sorry
microphone.
about that. So I'm talking about is that on?
It is, you just have to, yeah.
It seems to me that this all started really in a big way, probably about 8 years ago, when fuel runs started becoming a big thing. I may not have the right timeline on that, and I've seen it in other parts of the country. And it is a lot of supercars traveling in packs, making a lot of noise. Generous interpretation of speed limits, so on and so forth. And that crowd comes through town every car week. They come through here other times of the year as well. I've seen them, but is there a way to reach out to that community, just kind of as a, hey, you know, fellow car enthusiasts, you know, could you just not do that in Carmel, please?
That's a great point. And so actually what started happening when that group and a lot of the YouTubers, I'm not a big car guy, just so everyone knows. But so they actually reach out. So there's a group called DDE, which is kind of a big aspect of that kind of exotics that drive around. And they have like team members, I don't even know how it works, to be honest. But so they reached out to me and they're like, hey, we want to come park, because they've parked for the last 3 years at Hacienda. And so I've developed a relationship with them. And so I was like, sure, you can come park, but I need you to pre-register. I need you to make sure that if it gets too crazy, that I need you to exit and leave safely. And so I've kind of developed this rapport with them that I think that there's a mutually beneficial thing. For example, so I just said, hey, what do you think about this idea? And they're like, oh, well, could we bring our swag and sell our stuff? I was like, no, this isn't a sales thing. You can go do that on Exotics on Broadway. You can have your trailer there, but this isn't that. You can come park your car here, and you can all park together, and then you can leave. And so they said, okay, well, we'll think about it. And so I'm kind of in that discussion. I just wanted to see what the idea was, but I think reaching out to those, because then what these YouTubers do is they all get together and they'll make a super YouTube where they're all filming the same thing. And so I think that we can control this if there was more of a sage in place. and we have a direct line to them. So I think that's a good start.
Yeah, Niles, if I could just bring up, we opened up with the word classic, and these static events do draw a lot of attention. Cars don't need to be moving. I mean, it's at a Pod Canteen, I don't know what night it is, there's a big static event all the time. People just show up, it's great for business, and it's a real chilled way just to wander around, look at the cars, meet the owners, meet each other who happen to be into cars. I think the same thing would be in Carmel, a situation like that. I think if you could just bring that energy a little bit down and just allow the residents and visitors to actually kind of walk around and see the cars in real chill, quiet environment.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you bring up the Baja event because I have the organizer here, Roman, and so he's part of our team, and so he'll be helping kind of situate and get those cars. If it was up to us, it would only be classic cars. That would be so awesome. Kind of like our Concours for our cause event on Tuesday. They're all pre-1984s. We don't allow any exotics. That's not the kind of car that interests the clientele that we're working with. So I think the goal would be to fill the cars with these classic cars, but there's a reality of there are exotics that they want to come be seen. So how do we kind of create a controlled environment for them?
Would you like a microphone?
People at home cannot hear you without a microphone.
Oh, they can't, okay.
I think you raised a very good point about static versus motion. I think you also raised a point about Concours with Cause. There's the Aston Martins, there's the Ferrari Club, there's Prancing Ponies. There are multiple groups that work hand in hand with the community and the town to do static events. They're very controlled, they're not disruptive, they're good for business, they give back to the community. I'm struggling with why does this group want to be treated differently? And why as a community are we trying to find a way to make that happen?
I don't necessarily think they want to be like people come and kind of videotape the car, these exotics when they're static as well. Like I don't think that's not popular thing. I think we don't have them driving around our property during the quail and people come still take a picture with them. Everyone gets excited when they drive off, but I think that we're not trying to make an exception for them.
It feels like that.
I think that is super valid, and if that matters. But I think there's been damage. The noise has been offensive. And so I think this group represents a group that says, okay, if you want to go this route, a lot of the people that you're talking about were the ones who were blasting their engines last year. And it's a little hard to wrap your head around whether that's a good idea or not. So the difference is the classic cars that come, which scares me that it's pre-1984, because that makes me feel a little different. My Subaru is almost there. Just that mindset of whether they're going to follow the rules if they come into town, or just keep blasting their cars like they did last year.
And so much work goes into these other events from the organizations that put them on. I mean, it's a tremendous lift. And I think everyone tries to play very fair and represent and respect the community, but also provide an avenue for aficionados of those cars to come and be seen in a static way. So I do struggle with why does one group want to do something different when we have a precedent of how these events occur in the community.
So am I reading you right that you would or would not be for a nighttime non-event, whatever you call it?
I don't know.
Okay, no, it's
but
fair.
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but if it was more static
Yeah.
and controlled and operated in the same manner that the other events are operated within, because all the other clubs and communities, there's kind of a rule book that they all have to play by.
Right.
I'm so glad you said that.
Where'd that come from?
The previous speaker. The voice of God. The last two speakers, I think, really cracked this open, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, I go to more Cars and Coffee and car events than anything else in my world, and this is what I do all the time. And most of the vast majority of those events are not speed events, they're not noise events, they're static displays of cars for people who love cars or love talking to people that have cars. That's what happens. And you're absolutely right, nobody's racing their Ferrari up and down Dolores Street when Rich Pepe goes to the Ferrari event, or the Astons, and I've been to many events at Santana Row and other places like that. There's lots of McLarens and even the occasional Bugatti. And they're sitting there because the guy that owns it is showing it off, and the guy that's admiring it is admiring it, and it's not about the noise. And you just sort of get it in your mind. Carmel is not a racetrack.
Right.
It's a beautiful, quiet city. And if you want to come here with a car event, it's a static event. That's what it is. And there's no tolerance for noise. And just, you have to, it's the velvet glove over the steel fist. It's just not tolerated. We won't have it. But we could have more events. And the evening event, I think it's a great idea. But I don't see why it has to be in motion at all. And if you're leaving, and just watch it. And by the way, you don't have to have a McLaren or a car that's programmable noise. I have one. It's a Mustang. You can program the sound of it.
What's your license plate?
None of your business. Age appropriate. But I think I think these points are really the center of this, and it would probably make it easier to plan if we just knew this is something we won't tolerate. Pacific Grove doesn't tolerate it. I've been to the Pacific Grove Auto Rally every single year for 31 years. This will be the 32nd year. And I remember when we used to come up and stop on Ocean, and I love that. But then apparently some people misbehaved, so Carmel said, "Get lost, you can't come back anymore." That's too bad. So that's what we need to do with anybody that thinks whether they're driving a McLaren or a Mustang, that this is the place to rev their engine. And by the way, if you get a speed bump, your engine sound is going to go down because you have to slow down. And the sound is a function of how fast the engine is going. That's where the noise comes from. We just won't have it. And you know how to hand out those tickets. So
Very, very good out.
This isn't how you do it.
Thank you, Joe. It's the same first, but go ahead.
So I think people are right on that maybe there's a little too many people in town, but I do not think that having a sanctioned event by parking every single car is ever going to work. And I think the reason that doesn't work is because there's too many people. And before, when events and rallies used to come through the park, that worked because there wasn't an overflow of another 100 people wanting to come into town at the same time. And the only way to stop the noise is by parking the cars and turning them off. We all know that. But you're also never going to have enough space to park all of them because of how many people are in town. And I think some people say that everybody wants to take a picture from a car can do it when it's turned off park. That is true. But with the simple fact that you're never going to have space for enough cars, everybody always wants to hear a car, always into cars. All these younger kids, the exotics appeal to them. Most of the older people, they grew up with what are now classic cars. So I think with the car week crowd is now like 80-85% of younger people. Most of those younger people love to hear a car, whether it's just idling, whether it's just turned on, it's the engine is starting, whether it's moving. I don't even think people last year were, because I was in Carmel every day, I don't think people were very much so racing anywhere. I think it was just a lot of stop and go, and so many of these cars have different transmissions, whether it's a 6-speed, whether it's an automatic, but a lot of these higher end and exotic type of cars in general have so many different transmissions that the noise level, that's where it's coming from, because it's coming from a complete stop and it's revving up. And then everybody who has a sports car likes the loud exhaust sound. So you're never gonna be able to take it every single car and make them go back to stop or turn off their sport mode. They're just gonna put it back on, and that's never gonna be a thing to just completely wipe them out. Because they're just gonna come back next year, and they're just gonna do it again. And if you wanna say let's do it with a $500,000 Lamborghini, he gets a ticket, he gets his car towed, well he has so much money he can go buy another car or go rent another car. Like it's not possible to park every single car, and it's not possible to kick them out, because once you do that for 1 year, then you're gonna have a completely set of issues next year. And that's just the way I look at things, and I like loud cars. I think a lot of people here probably do. Whether it's an exotic, whether it's a supercar, whether it's a classic, but I don't know. I don't think that a an event where you park every single car is gonna work as well as people think.
Well, at the listening session number 1, I felt like you kind of brought up an evening event.
Yes, yes.
So talk to me about that.
I said that through 2 years ago during Car Week, a couple of the officers, including Officer Matt, who I don't think is here, he was one of the officers who watched us back some cars up into some parking spots by on Ocean Avenue where the Carmel drugstore is, and that was one of the blocks that was closed down with barriers. So people would go down the street, come around the block, and an officer or somebody would watch the car and make sure that it's clear. And they would back the car up into the parking spots because there was about 10 parking spots that weren't filled. And then some people started seeing what was happening, and other people started backing up some other cars into one of the lanes because the whole lane was blocked off. But in case of emergency services, they had cars parked in one lane, the middle lane was open, and then the parking spots were filled. So emergency services could still get through. And then an issue occurred with the city of that wasn't an actual parking and a limited event. And I think that if you can find ways to park cars in stalls and stuff like that, that'll work. But I don't think that if you're gonna tell people or ask people to park, that it's gonna work. Because people still like to drive through Carmel, and these people do like to show off their cars, but they're also, when they're driving through town, they also want to see whether it's the architecture. They want people to film them. They want to be driving too. So maybe it's some type of deterrent to send them to drive to Pell Beach or something.
All right, whoa, that works. So, you don't think there should be some type of parking event, but when you did see it 2 years ago, it worked?
I don't think that it'll work as well.
As well, okay.
Because the reason it worked is because there was overflow for parking. So people wanted to park. There was overflow of people that wanted to park. But the more free parking, I don't think people are gonna park as much as people think they will in this room.
All right.
Because some of those people want to drive through.
Thank you. I saw him today driving on Hennep Road, by the way. I know his car. He wasn't speeding. Please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Candy Darkanian, and I'm actually with the Ferrari Club, and I have Jeff Mulcahy, who's our vice president. I'm president. We have our secretary here, so don't hate us. We're here to also try to help make things better, and we want to find out what the community is looking for while we're here tonight. So I'm hearing a lot of great ideas, and I'm hearing a lot of apprehension, and that's great, because there are a lot of people here. But I think if everyone collaborates here tonight and tries to find not only a solution, but give their ideas might help. And I think parking on Ocean Avenue, as that gentleman over there was stating, there's not enough room. I mean, I think if you're advertising something like that, you're gonna even get people that don't have tickets trying to get in, and why don't you guys try to maybe think of something that's gonna benefit the city? So for example, if you're charging admission to come through Carmel, and I don't know if that's gonna be accepted or not, I'm just saying, some of the proceeds go back to the city and they go back to law enforcement, and then you make it worth your benefit and try to see if it works or not. And maybe you have a limited number of tickets that you sell, but the cars don't park. They get to drive through the city, and however many streets you wanna do, you can charge for that, and then maybe let them exit at that point. That might be a good trade-off. I've been in lots of cruises, one being San Mateo County, where I grew up in, and they do a cruise night every year that I'm part of. It's organized by the police department. It goes on till 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, and you're letting people come. Everyone wants to see the cars. We're the ones that we're organizing the Concours of Carmel on Thursday of Car Week. We're very in tuned to keeping the city clean, to keeping it quiet. Last year we had some race cars come in, but it was during the day.
Yeah.
And they are extremely loud, and you can't control the sound of those cars, and that's what everyone wants to do. They want to hear the cars. Again, we call it Car Week because it's 1 week long. And it's not for a month long, it's 1 week. And I know some of you are, apprehensive about the situation, but I think there's a lot of ideas that are here in this room that can benefit the city. Once again, if you want to charge for something, make some money on it.
Because I think Candy makes a good point. those of us who are involved in the car clubs.
Oh, is it not on?
I don't know.
It is on, you just have to hold it up.
Oh,
Okay.
you have to talk.
Those of us who are involved in the car clubs, we give tens of thousands of dollars back to the community. Each of the Concourse with a Cause, the Aston Martins, the Prancing Ponies, the Ferrari Club. There's a pay for play. And there is a quid pro quo, and we greatly appreciate the community being willing to have us. We try to be in and out and on time and quiet and provide something for the city. So as someone who kind of works her fanny off for 6 months trying to organize these events, and we always have the community of Carmel very much at the forefront. It's our members, but it's the community that we are very, very dedicated to. And as I said, we give tens of thousands of dollars. As every part of the entry fee that our people pay to display their cars, a good deal of it goes back to the community. So I get it, but I also feel like there's a little bit of taking and not giving in what I'm hearing. And I would encourage, as a member of this community, that if we're going to be willing to do this, and there's gotta be a trade-off.
Fair enough. And Donna, I promised you're next.
Thank you. I think they come to Carmel and Cannery Row because of who we are. And they do drive around everywhere else, but we're different. And so that's why they want the picture taken here. And an event at night to control the parking, I think sounds like a good idea, because they can rent a space, Leslie, for how much a day? $75 a day? I mean, you know, in front of the stores, they can rent a space and park a car all day for a certain amount of money. We've been doing that for years. And many of them do, and the exotic car people rent a space. And it's not so much, and we know Concourse gives money, and all of them do. They're all great, all the cars are great. But Porsche has an open event, uncontrolled, but they closed Del Monte Boulevard. I was shocked. Everybody just comes and parks wherever they want. They don't need anything but a Porsche to get on the parking lot. And there's 1,000 cars there. I don't know who's been there. I've been there every year. Free champagne. So, and cigars. They're trying to sell Porsches. So there are open events, and they're talking nighttime, not daytime. Our daytime is pretty full, unless the community activity. I was on it for 9 years. And we saw a lot of different ideas, and some of them were good and some not so good. But the nighttime controlled parking of any kind of car, and they're willing to pay, and as far as where the money goes, there's tons of places the city can put it in street repair. So that's not an issue that we couldn't find a place. But if someone's willing to pay, I had to go to San Francisco with $75 a day to park, and I was only there 3 hours. Take it or leave it, lady. You know, so if they're willing to pay for a space in front of Pepe's, whatever that costs, and they're willing to come and just park and walk around, I see no harm, because they're gonna control it. And if they don't wanna pay, then they have to park way up the hill and walk in.
Thank you, Donna. And I want to make sure you know that I heard you about it feels a little one way right now. It's because we've never done it at night. And during the day, I was there every day. I was at your events. It was beautiful. And it was the right amount of people, right? It was just manageable, easily. And I don't know if you've been there at night, but at night it is thousands of people. And they are different, meaning the fancy car drives by and they lie down on the street next to the car and take selfies because they've waited to see that car their whole life. It's something that fancy. Like I jokingly say a bedazzled car, but there was a car that was covered in diamonds. You know, it's I guess beautiful, right? So with that in mind, I don't think we know how to do it yet. We know how to do the daytime ones, and I think with that team, it's been very successful, and I appreciate it. It was beautiful. The nighttime is what we're talking about with the issues. We're not trying to get rid of your daytime event, I don't think, right? So with that in mind, I just want you to know that I hear you. And I don't know the perfect balance yet, which is why I'm talking to you and equally smart people who can give us a little more guidance on how to do that. Kevin?
Okay, I want to make clear that I'm not advocating this, it's just an idea. It might be a horrible idea, but maybe what we do, because it seems there's more objection to noise at night. Why not just invite everybody? Come to Ocean Avenue, you know, between 2:30 and 3:30 on Friday, and that is the loud hour. Move it to the day. Just thinking.
That's another event.
You got kind of a side look from your wife that you might not be. I'm kidding. Point taken. Yeah. Change the paradigm, right, to where you're controlling it.
What happened?
I get it. I don't know the answer to that. Okay. Anybody else before I kind of summarize tonight and leave you alone? Okay. Thank you for coming. I didn't know you did that other event, but I just thought you guys did everything together, so I appreciate it. You know, I had really 3 more questions, and a lot of it had to do with you defining what traditions you want to keep and what traditions you want to maybe change. I haven't heard a lot of talk tonight about the daytime events because we focused on the nighttime events with the crew that's here, but I do want to make sure I don't skip over that because it was a big topic at our first listening session about the daytime events. And a couple different people mentioned combining the events. I honestly don't know the difference. I know the Ferraris because I like looking at Ferraris. And I remember, you know, Batman car was around the corner and stuff like that. But I just want to make sure I do give some time if anybody wants to mention the daytime events and anything that you would change if you had the opportunity because the right people are here to hear you. Any talk about that? No? Okay. How many events do we have technically? 4?
Yeah. Tuesdays is Concord for a Cause. Wednesdays is Aston's on the Avenue, but they're short event. And then Wednesdays we have Prancing Ponies from Ocean to San Carlos and the side streets, and then we have the Ferrari Club from the other half of San Carlos down to Monteverde and the side street.
So 4 events.
So 4 events, and we did have a small 1-block event on Wednesday, the same day as Aston's, but it was just right there on Mission between Ocean and 6th.
Oh, right. And that was Rivian?
It was Rivian.
Rivian, yeah. And they gave out free ice cream, which was
Yes.
great. Okay, I want to make sure that, because that was something that came up a lot. Did you have your hand up, sir?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure, that was my 3rd question, just talking to you about the elegance of the daytime events. Yes, ma'am.
I have one.
Can I give you this?
Yeah. Please. My name is Christy Ramers, and I own a local business in town, and it's probably the best time to share this from my point of view, but as a business owner, it would be great if we could combine events, only because it is really tough on business. Mm-hmm. I know that some businesses do well, like the jewelry shops and the galleries, but most of us small, locally owned businesses really take a hard hit during this week.
Because parking?
Parking is a big problem, and people come who are not interested really in shopping. You know, they're more interested in looking at the cars. And I've even talking to the Nielsen's Market, they said this past year was definitely different. Years before, people would come in and get wine and more high-end expensive things at the store, but this year it was sodas and cookies. So it's definitely taken a different turn.
If you don't have to share this, but how many years have you had your business here?
15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks.
And well, that I want to talk to you at some point too, if that's okay. But think about the last 5 years. What do you feel like has changed? You say things have changed for you, like the people who are coming in.
Yeah.
But what has changed during the day? And I'm assuming you're not open at night too late?
No, until, I'm open till 6.
Okay.
I'd have to really think about that. I feel like pretty much every year I've been open, it's been a tough week.
For 15 years.
For 15 years,
Okay.
yeah, it's this time of year, car week and AT&T.
Okay.
I always say at the end of it, I think I should have just taken a vacation during this week.
It's just dead.
It's just
People aren't
dead.
coming in.
What type of business?
Well said.
Gifts, I'm an eco health and wellness general store, so,
Okay.
but yeah, more not high-end stuff like artwork and jewelry.
I first of all, thank you for coming, because connecting with the business community has been tricky, not because they're avoiding this, but people are just busy, right?
Yeah.
And I've been going out and literally knocking on doors and meeting the guy that runs the surf shop and everything, right? He
Mhm.
says the same thing. But if you talk to
Yeah.
the hotels, when I first started off, the hotels are gangbusters. It's a big win for them. This is that type of event where people need a place to stay, and then they go to Pebble or they come to the events here
Yeah.
and look at Ferraris, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So thank you for
Yeah.
that, but,
I think also from talking with the community, I think also restaurants take a little bit of a hit.
yeah.
Especially in this last year, it was a much younger crowd. So like Nielsen's with the cookies and the sodas, these are not people that are coming to eat at our restaurants, which are not, McDonald's. It's
It's
like
not-
In
it's
and
not
Out,
usual.
it's like In and Out Burger got hit,
Yeah.
with people, so, yeah, I don't know how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So if let's say you had to pay a parking fee of like $50 or something, do you think that those individuals would more likely be going to have dinner in a restaurant or something along those lines?
I don't think so. Yeah.
And it would be interesting if like some of the businesses that are hurt, if they were able to participate maybe and support, and maybe they get part of the proceeds to that parking, so that there's some profit. Because I think that, just a thought. And then, that's just good.
Yeah, sometimes I think of like you do sell art at your place, or is it?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Like people that sell art, some of the businesses have said, we're contemplating maybe having an event, like a wine event, where they get a special permit.
Yep.
That doesn't sound like that'd be appropriate for your place. I don't know, maybe, I don't know how that works. But like they've told me the same thing, that people aren't buying art at certain parts of our town.
And it keeps the type of visitor out who is interested in coming to Carmel to wander the shops and eat at the restaurants. Like, there's no space for them.
I'm really glad you're here, and I invite you to meet with me sometime. You can come to the police department.
Okay.
You at least get a free cookie. And but seriously, just so I can kind of hear more about that, or if you meet with like a business group, I would love to just go and listen and participate, which I've been trying to do.
Okay,
But
great.
seems like business people are working all the time.
We do.
So thank you for being here
Yeah, thank you.
and sharing. I don't know the answer to that one. I don't know how to make people park their car and go into great businesses. I don't know. But they have to know you're open. That's the big thing. And then number two, they have to be interested in buying, right?
Yeah.
And I can't make you sell cookies, although I do make really good ones.
The nature of this week, Car Week, is people are here with their cars. Car enthusiasts come to look at the cars. They're not here to shop.
Right.
So they have to stay somewhere typically. So yeah, the hotels are gonna do great. Most people wanna go eat. That's gonna happen. The business, I haven't had a business here for 27 years. I watched it deteriorate, so it's hit or miss. Some years, Car Week was good for us. I can't say it was Car Week, I just say it was luck of the draw. Other years, should have just closed for the week. So that's just kind of what happens. And I'm going back to the non-event on Ocean Avenue at night. I'm not understanding if Ocean Avenue is closed to through traffic, if it's only for ticket holders to come in.
It would be closed through traffic.
Yeah, that's a problem.
It'd be closed through traffic because
it would be full of those fancy cars
Yeah.
and thousands of people who are looking at those cars.
Yeah, so the problem for me is the thousands of people looking at those cars.
Yeah.
That's what needs to be controlled. Because you have people running around in the street, little kids, I mean, it's really scary to me. I mean, it just is, I hate seeing it.
Right.
Mhm.
Especially last year, right? And the years before, I'm sure I wasn't there, but last year, as they went through the town, you can control which way the cars go, but people just step right through all that, right? And there's not enough place to do that. So the idea of bringing some outside officers has come up in my mind. I was a little skeptical of it last year until I saw what was going on. It wouldn't hurt to have some extra help with people that we trust, right? Officers that are local, but also figure out a way to keep pedestrians totally out of the roadway, and that's tricky. I can do it if they park, because then they can walk around all they want. I know they're not going to get run over. If they lined up Junipero and Ocean all the way down to Monteverde and they parked 100 and whatever cars they figured out, I can control people better, meaning not control like in a weird way, but I mean like I can make sure they're safe. And when the car leaves, they can make sure the car goes out one at a time in a safe way. It's safer. It absolutely is safer. But what you're saying is the 4,000 people that are here to see those cars and are not in those cars are going to park somewhere. They're going to park, some of them will park at Lawson Field and come over. Larson, sorry. And then other people are going to park on your street in front of your business. And the residents, right? That's what always happens. So that's part of the balance we have to find. Thank you. All right, we are. You guys are doing great. I knew you'd be more interesting than my questions. Just kind of a final thought, and if it spurs conversation, great. If not, you can grab pizza on the way out. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if we get the balance right on the non-event, if we get the balance right, what should Car Week feel like for somebody who's here to visit and look at those cars? The 19-year-old who loves exotics, the 50-some-year-old like me who has flown in from France, which really happens, to see those cars here in our town because they love Carmel. What should it feel like for them? And then what should it feel like for the guy or gal that drives in their mega Ferrari? I don't know what the best Ferrari is, but it's probably red. Am I right?
Not true,
No, not true, okay. But that's part of the balance too. Like, how do we find that happy medium of balance that they are content, but they're in control, right? They're taking control of their vehicle when they're driving it in, and that visitor isn't egging them on. I remember Kevin told us at the first listening session when he was a little bit younger than now, chap, how he would be a car spotter. Is that what they're called? Car spotters, right? He basically was the original car spotter with a Polaroid, I imagine. But that was a pretty good joke, I thought. But he would chase around cars and really brought a different level of empathy for the car enthusiast, not being just somebody that sprung up recently. This has been happening forever, right? There are people that just love that. And I think about that when I think about some of these rules that might come into play and how we're going to do that in a way that would keep younger you out of trouble and safe, and still give you the experience in Carmel that was safe for the car and for all the people that are walking around. I did not feel safe last year. I have been at Cinco de Mayo when I was working in San Jose and riots broke out. I didn't feel unsafe like that. I didn't feel like that was going to happen, but I didn't feel safe. I felt safe because I'm a cop, but I looked around at people and I thought, this isn't the safest thing for people in the middle at 9 o'clock at night to be walking through Ocean the way it was happening. And that's all I ever think about. I think that's my job. So that's why I'm grateful for you guys giving up your night again, or your time again, and thinking about this. For me, I think it gives me more fodder to go to the Community Activities Commission. But I do ask that you marinate on this, and if you think of something else, there are other people that have some other ideas on maybe a way to make this safer. I'm game, and I will represent you. And I'm not elected to be your representative, but I will. Nothing is more important to me than to try something different that makes it safer. Because if we don't, we're gonna look foolish, right? We're gonna look like, I mean we, meaning me, right? It means I'm not listening and I'm not trying to do something that's gonna keep you safe. So I experienced it big time last year, and I am looking forward to finding a better balance this year. So thank you for your help. Does anybody have any final song they want to sing or anything?
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And you didn't eat all the cookies this time, so either I made them wrong or whatnot. I will announce, the Community Activities Commission is when?
February 17.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a week later because of
February 17th
AT&T.
because of AT&T, so it's February 17th.
February 17th? Is it every month?
Yes.
Every month, second Tuesday of the month.
So we'll talk and figure out.
Yeah, it might not be February
Yeah,
17th.
that's pretty
Out of
close.
fairness to all of you, I want to really, when I present, I want to present well and sound better than I do up here. So, thank you. Thanks for being on the commission. Last call? No? Thank you. Thank you very much. Please grab some food on the way out, and don't forget to take Joe home.
I have a ride, thank you.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
I'm doing okay.